And I think we're live. Although we're counting in, we've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As if we've got music which is being made at the moment, actually. And we're also looking at getting some sort of video thing happening to make the whole start of it feel better. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining us at the Adobe Video CHiNWAG. As per usual, I have got some guests with me. I've got Jimmy Harmsworth and Manders back again. Say hello, fellas.
Hello, how are you, boys?
I'm good. How are you, Jimmy?
Fantastic, Al. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
I've just noticed that my colouring is a bit weird. I'm looking a bit Oompa Loompa-ish. That's all right.
That's all right, mate. You always look fantastic to me.
Oh, that's because you're blind in one eye. Alrighty.
Thanks for pointing that out. That was a compliment. But anyway,
fair backhanded compliment. So we're gonna do things a little bit differently this time. We think this is going to be a better way for us to start the show by going back to the questions that we didn't really get around to in the previous episode. So
for sure,
I'm going to take a look here at some of these comments that kind of got left behind.
The first one that I can see there. The first one I can see there is that we get the option for bulk inviting to multiple libraries, and there was the answer put up that you can add more than one name before hitting invite, which is an invite via email. And so the bulk invite's obviously by email, and if that person has a Creative Cloud account, I would assume.
Yes. So one of the things that people really want to get going is they would like to have the ability to put like a CSV list. That'd be awesome. Yep. It doesn't exist yet. I've heard this a lot. It's something that's in the works. They're trying to not just solve it at that level, but they're trying to solve this problem at an enterprise level as well, where you've got hundreds of people that need to be sort of put into this list, and a CSV is a way to do it, but then they want to make it a different way. I heard that it's coming soon. I can't say when, but yeah.
So we're not there yet. You're just adding individual users' emails is the answer to that question?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was another, Andrew Hicks has asked if you rename a file via Bridge, will Premiere automatically find it? There is the auto update of files that when you have them in Premiere that they do identify a growing file, but I don't know if they identify whether if you've named something in Bridge, whether it translates to Premiere or the other suite. Is that a question you can answer, John or Al?
I can have a go at it. It can. It depends on how dramatic you've changed the name of the file.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's assume, rule of thumb, you change the file name, it's probably going to complain and say, where's that file? Right. So you probably have to go reconnect it. Good idea to organize it from the very beginning, which is kind of what Paul was saying last week, in that you really want to get everything right in the beginning before you go too far down the rabbit hole of pipeline of the post and all the rest of it, because then when it comes to finally delivering it, it can get screwed if it's not set up properly at the beginning.
Absolutely. And I think that from the discussion you had with the assistant editors moments, some of what Mary said was that, you need to get things right at the start, and having a good regime and actually working out how you're going to, name your camera files, if you can get the DPs to do that, if there's multiple cameras, obviously making sure that each camera has its own designated name, that they don't conflict, and that the clip names are then sort of an ordered regime, whether it's by day, by week, by month, or just starting at 1 and ending at 10,000. That would be a good way to have your production in line.
Yes.
A great way to even go before that is to even with just your folder structure, using a program like Post Haste to set up a managed folder structure that is clear and easy to read and view, so that anybody can come along and just jump in if they need to.
And so in some of your experience, Al, if there's somebody on set sorting stuff, are they doing it efficiently, or do you reckon that they're not getting it right?
Oh, generally on set, no. Generally, you just get multiple cards with the same file names, and it's up to the editor to sort it out. I rarely get stuff that it's on a hard drive that's nice and neat, and so it's left up to me to sort out.
Yeah, so I think the digital side of sorting things and being organised on set is going to be a big thing moving forward. And I know that the DIT situation is that if you've got somebody there that is in control of that, it is absolutely going to make the production in post work more efficiently. I don't think here I know it's a big thing in other places, but here we don't have a lot of DIT people or just data wranglers that are managing content efficiently on set. Because it's just like, oh, we just hand the card to somebody and hope that it gets done. And, I think those things hopefully are going to change.
Yeah.
We can only but see.
Yes. Moving on to, I think we've covered all of those actually. So I think we could move on to what this week's episode is about.
Cool. Well, this week is about markers. Are you making your mark with markers? I had to go cheesy there. Big bad dad joke, because, that's part of my brand. It's what I do. Look at that. He's got a marker right there. So markers can be awesome, and then markers can be a little bit disappointing if you don't fully understand the way they work.
They are never disappointing, John.
Well, some people like to use markers to navigate through an entire project, and then they try to search through the project panel to find something specific that they put in there, and that panel doesn't show through any search outcomes to do with markers. You use the marker panel. And if you have certain things that are metadata related and not specific to time, then you should put that information in the metadata, which then is searchable inside of the project panel. So a bit of education around what it's good for and what it does do and what it's not really meant to be used for is kind of where we're going tonight. So we've all three of us have come up with a list. Jude, who's one of the other people on the team, unfortunately, she won't be able to sort of be with us tonight. She's busy, but she's provided a list of stuff as well. So we're going to try and get through as many of these as possible. And I think I might ask you guys to put your hand up and figure out which one of you wants to have a crack at showing your ones.
Well, I'm happy to jump in first.
All right, you go first, Jimmy. I'm still waiting for something to happen on my end.
All right, you're going to have to look at my lovely face while I manage all the technical mumbo-jumbo in the background. Oh,
so, John, I'm sharing.
See, look at that. I didn't even do it right. It's technical. I'm inside the Premiere Pro. You're
inside the Matrix, bro. Inside.
All right, let me double-check that everything's set up right for... you got to love these configurations. So I do need to make a couple of adjustments to make sure everyone gets the best possible experience, because that's what I care about.
Just hit full screen on me, bro.
All right, here we go. And I can swipe it over there. There we go. We're on your screen now, Jimmy. Take it away, buddy.
Well, first thing is that I've been using markers for a very, very long time. So I think in 2015, I really accelerated what I was doing, but I'm sure 100% that I was using them in about 2013 to just make notes to myself. The panel has existed forever, and I sit there and annotate a lot of the stuff that I'm watching on first watches. And so I'll sit there and make sure that I do have markers for things that I want to look at, that I want to revisit, or that are take numbers, scene numbers, any kind of information that I want to feed back to myself as I'm watching it. I'm just hitting my shortcut key, which for me is an M, because, funnily enough, M stands for M. And marker. Oh, they have the same. Oh, wow. Okay, there was a dad joke. Thanks, John. I've just come up with a dad joke too.
I'll just retire now, I think.
Yeah, hand it over, because we're both due at the bowling green at 4 a.m. So what I do is I just religiously sit there and put markers into things. It obviously evolved from there because then markers became a lot more, malleable, so you can set durations and do some interesting stuff with them. As you can see on my screen here, I've just got a little breakdown of what I do with the CHiNWAG promo that I do each week, because I have to produce that in about 4.3 seconds. And so I want to be able to do that rapidly. And 4.3 seconds is not a lot of time to produce anything. So I make sure that I remember the way I lay things out. And I use a series of these timed markers that all have beginnings and ends. And each time you click on one, you can see each area that I have defined. So I know, I've got about this much time to do this and this much time to do that. If you jump into the area where it's you can see the markers here. I can just see I've got the intro.
Zoom in for the crowd at home. Here we go.
Can you do that? Because I can't. If I do it here, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I know it doesn't work on your side.
It doesn't work at my end.
Let's see if I can draw it for the folks at home. There we go.
And so, as you can see, I just break down each section of that promo. So my scripts generally have about they have a word count, and I make sure that everything kind of works. But then I've got the markers here, so I can say I need to confine everything to this kind of zone so that it has some semblance of an order and that it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, which every editor will say that's a ridiculous thing to say, but you got to do that, especially when you're just doing little promos. But another thing is that because you can split these markers up, so you can have the name of the marker, you can have a comment section, you can also have a duration attached to that. You double click and bring in the actual topic screen, and then in the topic screen you can actually say, well, I'm going to add a whole lot of detail here, which will be the name of the marker, the comments that are attached to that marker, and a color. They've still got these lingering other sections here, which nobody really uses with chapters and stuff, because I think they hang on from maybe the Encore days, the Adobe DVD Encore days. I'm not sure. So they have segmentations, and that's a Blu-ray thing, but I'm not sure that that's going to be kept going moving forward, and flash cue points and stuff, which nobody cares about. But yeah, so that's, firstly, I use that to map out. When I'm doing a lot of things and I'm going to do them repetitively, markers become my map. And so that map helps me to look at the timeline, and which I'll duplicate, I'll delete stuff out of, and then I'll just start rebuilding. I'll just actually add content underneath a series of transitions or whatever I'm doing to help myself just get through things really quickly. And it has a kind of formula to it. That was one of my first things that I did. I was doing that for promos on Channel 31. I was doing it for promos for advertising clients and whoever else I had. Another massive thing that I've learned is that when you look in the project panel, when you have markers on the sequence, you can actually see all of the markers that you've made when you click on the project, the sequence in the project panel.
That's an awesome tip.
If I have a massive amount of documentary footage, and I'm currently working on a documentary footage project that has footage from, I believe, 8 years. And what we've done is now organized a system. I wish I could show you, but I can't. But organized a system where we can click through each of those sequences, which we've organized into weeks. So each week of this person's footage is organized into a sequence, and then we just go through and annotate each week. And then when we need to find something, it's like, the producer says, I'm pretty sure it's in week 3, and the director goes, oh yeah, I'm sure it is, it's somewhere there. You go to week 3, and you can go into the marker panel and you type what was something that he said. He said he said something about smoking. And I was like, okay. So then we just type smoking into the search panel, smoke, for example, and then it will bring up, because we've annotated each little section as far as we can in each of those moments. Because what you can see I've done here is in the B roll, for example. Oh no, let's go to the A roll, which would be an interview, for example. So I can see with practical field work is part of the script. So in scene 1, take 1, we can see I've written in some of what was said there. This was a scripted piece that I've just used as an example. With documentary stuff, I'll often just sit there and type in random words, keywords that the person has said. I'll often write the interview topic in verbatim so that we can, the interview question, so that the interviewer, when he asks a question, I will type that question in so that we know where we stand. Because when the producer or the story person comes up and says, well, what were the responses to the interviewer's question for this question? So then I can type in that question or variants of it, find that question in the list that I have in front of me and go, right, well, here is what they said. So you're not having to jump around, search like moments and just go, oh, well, that was at minute 35 of the interview. You've got it pretty much all right there. And that's just using the project panel when you organize things in a sequence level. So your A roll, interview 1, person's name, A roll, interview 2, person's name. That becomes critical to your workflow when it comes to using the markers. And for me, it's changed my life because we can say like that was week 2. Let's look at that. I click on it. I do a search. We find the grab. We look at it. Yep, we could use that, or maybe we couldn't. That's basically the majority of my workflow. With B-roll stuff, again, it's just changing scenes, changing like camera positions. I'll just make markers as we go through. Bang! This is the west-facing drone shot. This is the afternoon test. This is left to right on the hill, and then you're like, oh yeah, I might have a look at that. Double click, it brings up the actual the sequence, and then you can sit there and go, oh okay, so there's the shot that I needed. Once you're in the sequence, obviously you can jump around just by clicking everything that you need. Again, you just go, hey, well, this is the sequence. You jump into it. I also use the colored tabs. This is just what I do. So I use orange for exterior and blue for interior. So I know if somebody says, oh, what was the exterior? And then I can kind of go, oh, I might have to have a grading approach for exterior versus interior. Markers, again, it's very much about how you want to work it, but that's me. I think that was my 6 minutes, mate. How did I go?
Oh, that was awesome. There's actually a question there that popped up from Andrew Hicks. If the marker durations and the times overlap, how's that displayed in the timeline?
Yeah,
do you want to show us just how
it sucks? It sucks a little bit. They do overlap, so you can see there that those two overlap, and you can see that I've got main topic screen recording, but then I've also got the guest underneath. So they do overlap, and it does work, but it does kind of look a bit messy. If you can see what I mean there,
he's like pretty happy with that though.
Yeah, it works, but again, you could be like, I want the music swell to last this long. So it depends on the detail in the marker. So you could say, well, I want the music swell to continue under this particular section, and you could just call the marker musical note, and then you kind of understand the reason for them to overlap. But for me, I just use it to map out a project. I'm just like, oh well, I've got a 12-second intro, I've got a 9-second guest piece, and then I move straight into my main topic. I've got 18 seconds for that, and just kind of fit it into your 60 seconds or 30 seconds or 15 seconds, depending on how short. I mean, Facebook ads, if they keep getting shorter, I mean, they're going to be 1 second ads. Nobody's going to see anything.
Yeah. Cool.
And
Al.
scene. Al.
And scene. Al, what have you got, mate?
My turn, is it? Well, just expanding a bit on what Jimmy was talking there. Awesome system there. I've used something similar in the past, especially when working on archival footage, and especially when you get footage from stations sometimes, and it's just one big long file, 3-4 hours worth of footage in the one file. And this was a problem that, well, the latest version of Premiere might sort of fix this problem with the new scene edit detection. But in the past, what I've done is I've used markers as a way to, instead of going through the whole file and chopping it up, just using markers to identify, basically doing selects in the one file, in the sequence, rather than chopping it all up and creating subclips and things like that.
Yeah,
100%. Great.
So,
do you want to show us your screen and some of the stuff you had?
Yeah, sure. I'm just
you should
quickly
be able to just start
just
sharing your screen, and you'll kick off Jimmy's screen there.
All good.
Yeah.
Where are we? I'm sharing a screen, and I've got Premiere down there.
All right.
So
cool.
you should be seeing me now.
Got you.
I'm seeing you, but I'm just tidying up the view for those at home. Let's have a look here, and we're ready for you.
All right. So here I've got a sequence with just a big long file of about 3 hours worth of footage, I think, something like that. And I've just mocked this up just quickly. This is all material from Japan. So what I would do is I'd just very quickly go through, add a marker. If something is of note, I'd quickly type it in. And what I would end up with on the markers panel is basically all my selects. And this is really useful for, as I said, archival footage, because often you'll need to make several promos from the same footage. So by doing it this way, you've just got a really easy way to refer back to shots that will be used over multiple promos.
Have you used the marker panel to have notes going in while you're still playing the footage?
I have. I've rarely used it.
Do you want to show how that works? Because I think a lot of people don't realise
this is a big one for me.
And it's been there for a very long time.
I've been doing this forever, since I can't even remember when I started doing it. I just, as soon as it happened and I realised I could type stuff in while I'm watching, it was a game changer for me. I was like, oh, great. I can just type in, yep, she said the right thing here. Yep, she said the wrong thing here. Oh, that the owner of the business was completely off, was looking off camera. He didn't say the right thing. And then you can feed that all back to the client or the producer and just say, yep, okay, these are all the moments. That was a massive moment in my use of markers. It was like, I can just type in stuff while I'm playing it.
Here we've got some monkeys here. I can just say monkey in pool.
So you can see everyone. You can see it's actually
hit the
playing.
Tab button. Hit your tab. You can actually jump from marker to marker. You hit your tab and just keep typing.
Yeah.
More monkeys in pool.
Oh, it looks like it's not playing back. It stopped playing back there.
It's not.
When you hit tab, I think it might.
There we go.
I usually just click into the next. I scroll down and click into the next one.
Oh, yeah. I just hit play and then jump into markers and then just tab through it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So as I'm typing, I can something going on here. Just move on through.
Yeah, sweet. Very nice.
Absolutely golden, that function, and I'm using it daily. I mean, I use the markers function on every project, and I've been using it since forever, just to jump through, because I know that every time a story producer is going to come in, or every time a director comes in and goes, where was that shot of this? And I'm going to be like, oh, because normally in the old days when I was using Final Cut 7 or Final Cut 7, then it was kind of like, well, we'll just sit here and watch that take or that scene or that entire interview and hope to God that we come across the grab that they're thinking about, because they remember it vividly. And you're like, I'm trying to remember the entirety of the 16 interviews that we did for this project, and I can't remember that particular grab. With just adding some extra stuff in, which is like, for me, just typing in, talked about Doris, talked about Ian, talked about Jenny, even just having the names of stuff that happened. It's like somebody, like the director, will come in and say, I know that they said that they had this story about Jenny. Where's that?
Yeah.
And you're like, as an editor, if you haven't got the brain of, Rain Man, then it's just like, well, okay, where is that? What day was that shot? What scene was that shot? I've got 8 years of footage that I'm trying to digest. Where am I going to go for that? But then you can type that in. They help you pinpoint. You use the markers search function. You're like, type Jenny in. Boom. Okay, I've got 6 Jennies here. Great. Well, let's watch each of one of those. Yeah, that's the one. Absolutely makes time go a bit quicker, because then you're not rewatching stuff ad nauseum. So
yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to show, Al?
Yeah, so the other thing I wanted to show was just how markers are really great for working between After Effects and Premiere.
Do it, buddy.
And, you know, here I've got a little sequence. I've got things where I want to enter in graphics, and I go, you know what, I want to take the whole sequence over to Premiere. I click on the sequence, I Control-C, I move over to After Effects. Now, that might not show up on the screen, is it? No, it's not.
You got to share your whole desktop.
No, just drag it in. Drag it into the screen you're using.
No, it won't let me do that on Teams. Let me move over to After Effects. There we are. Right. Have we got it there?
We're getting the technical thing going. Hang on.
Got it.
Hang on. I just got to...
I was too quick.
Okay, there we go. Now you're good.
Anyway, so I Control-C or copied the sequence in Premiere, and then I moved over to After Effects, and I've been a bit too quick, and I pasted it into the project window of After Effects. And not only is it copied my sequence, but it's also copied all the markers, both the sequence markers and the clip markers as well.
Sweet.
So I can very quickly get started knowing exactly where I need to work. I don't have to worry about audio syncs or anything like that. That's all taken care of back in Premiere. I can just I know that I need to put a transition there, or, you know, a lens flare, something like that.
Yeah.
And away I go.
100%.
And
That's awesome.
It's such a time saver.
Oh yeah, I've never actually done that, Al. That's the first time I've actually seen the follow through from Premiere to After Effects. So
yeah, it's brilliant, and it also works. There's another way of doing it. You can export media from Premiere. Say you want to, you know, send a guide track or a guide video off to someone off site.
Yep.
You can export the video, and the markers will be retained as a XMP temple tag. In QuickTime, I think also in MPEG-4s, isn't it, John?
Yeah. That metadata stays inside those types, all the files pretty much. If it's
is it all files?
Well, so there is MXF files can't have the metadata header of a file. We're getting geeky now, but files have the ability to have this metadata that can be written into the actual head of the file before it turns into the file data that makes the images and the picture, images and audio. And that metadata in there is usually where the marker content goes in. So if you do markers and you do it to a clip, if it's not a .mxf file, it goes inside the header of the file. When you share that file out to someone else, then they open that clip and then they see the markers that have been put in by somebody else. If you're working with MXF files, then you need a sidecar file. That's that .xmp file that a lot of people kind of freak out about. And they go, ooh, what's this? I don't like it. That's why that exists, is because the problem with the MXF format is it doesn't allow for these things to be written into the file. So you've got to put it somewhere, you put it in the sidecar file. And then when the sidecar moves with the file as well, then you can open up and see all of that rich metadata and marker information as well. So that's it. Otherwise, they all accept.
They all generally do it. I've noticed that recently the MP4s have been keeping my keeping my metadata in marker sensors in the files, because I'll open them and I'll often do, when I do a final file, which will be a ProRes .4444 file for my master output, I will put markers in that if there is chapters or different sections of the video. For example, if it's a 23-minute program, I'll have segment 1, 2, and 3, or if it's a an hour-long program, I'll often have each of the chapters for the moments in that program. When I do export that, both in ProRes and MP4, it maintains, well, in QuickTime on the Mac platform anyway, my marker integrity, so I can jump through each of those segments each time I open that up in QuickTime. It also imports back into Premiere when I bring that MP4 back in. Say a client from 3 years ago or 2 years ago has said, can you just revisit this moment? We need to change something in this section. I'll bring the MP4 in because I'm too lazy to remount all of the media which has been archived. I'll put the MP4 into the timeline and all my markers are there, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's section 3. Oh yeah, okay, good. I kind of know what's happened. So it's also good for archiving in that sense, that if you've got a lot of stuff in that MP4 file that you can just pull off, you've got nearline of your MP4s of rushes. I mean, this applies to rushes and dailies and just, interviews and stuff that you've sent to producers. If you keep those things nearline, where it's like you don't have to keep all the original media, which could have been shot on an F55 or an F5 or a bloody Red, that's off somewhere else in somebody else's, archive, but you've kept the dailies of the MP4, which is only 700 meg or 1.2 gig on a server somewhere. You drag that back into your Premiere timeline and you've got all these notes that are sitting there. And it's kind of it's like a cheat code almost, because then you can say to the producer, yeah, look, I've delved into the archives and yeah, I found where that is. And we're going to have to work on finding it. We're going to have to bring it back to the server and everything, but we can do that. And then you go and quote.
There's a few comments here. Paul is saying, so this is the Premiere Pro, Paul. I wish it was the same with Premiere to Audition.
It was for a while, though. I think it was for a while.
I don't know if the context of this, because you can move that marker metadata does move into Audition.
David Houston has also said something about Premiere to Pro Tools. That was something I originally wanted to experiment, and I was doing Pro Tools years ago, but then I moved into, I was a Cool Edit Pro guy, but then I sort of moved into Ableton Live for a lot of my music stuff. And I was always a Fruity Loops user, so I just dropped off. So I have no idea, and it is a really good question how Pro Tools and Premiere would interact. It's almost a discussion that I'd need to research, but good question.
Yeah, the languages are still a bit different. So we, and I say that as Adobe, are really working closely with Avid to try to bridge the code gaps. There's been quite a lot of improvement over the last few years. AAF used to be a pretty hit and miss kind of experience.
Yeah, it was never robust. I never felt it was ever really heavily.
It's actually got much better now, and that's part of that.
It wasn't great in Premiere, but it's 10 times better than what it was.
Yeah. What else is here? Sidecar. Yeah, okay. The comments are. They are what they are. I might show something now. Let's see. It's my 5 minutes.
Go for it.
I would like to show here that there is a different kind of marker in After Effects. So I've got some animation here, right? It's just sexy animation. And then I've got some time in between, and then maybe I want to have some animation at the end. And I'll just basically copy this and paste it, and then right-click that.
That's a good-looking animation, John. Fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I'm just going to time reverse the keyframes. And so these are ranges that I always want something that comes in to animate and take as many frames as I've set up. And then when it comes out, it goes out the same amount as well. Now, if I'm designing this, and I want to keep these things safe, but the middle section, which is sort of dead space, I might want that to expand and contract. I can keep the front and the back end safe with markers. So I'll just show you how to do this. If you tap on the marker icon and then double click into it, there's this new tick box here, which has been around a couple years now, protected region. and you can give it a comment. I might just call this the front animation. Let's see, I'll move it to the start, and then I'll give it maybe, I think it's about 13 frames there, and it's moved over to here. So notice this is blue, and I'll do another one on this side here. Double click, end animation. Geez, I'm glad I can touch type. Protected region. And then it's now going on the other side. So if I was to now take that and nest this or pre-comp this, you can see if I start to manipulate the duration, notice that the middle section is getting shorter, but the animation ends that are protected regions are staying the same. So if I play that back, I can make these different versions of it without having to chop it up and extend it and do all crazy things. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that.
This is pretty good. Yeah, so that's another kind of thing you can do with these markers that a lot of people sort of didn't necessarily notice that you could do. It's been there for a little while.
How does that translate back if you're gonna bring that back dynamic link into Premiere? Does that give you the same iteration of those protected regions?
Yeah, you're giving me a headache.
Yeah, see, that's where I start to go, well, if I'm going to do it in After Effects, can I drag it back?
Well, so the thing is that is the goal. It's not there today, but this is part of a phased approach to getting this to operate that way. And this whole protected zone and sort of contextual design was when we went to the new Premiere Pro titles engine. And you can set up these ranges where you want that zone protected, and then you can extend and contract and compress the duration of these layers within the new title engine, because it's not just titles. You can put
100%.
other shapes in there. And so
100%.
That's what they're looking to do inside of After Effects to get that flexibility.
Amazing, and that's an amazing tool, because I am still receiving documentary footage from documentary directors and producers to this day using legacy titler, and you just have to delve in and you double click that thing and you open it, and all the fonts that they've used are no longer like accessible fonts, and you get 400 warnings across the board when you open up any of these rough cut edits that these producers or directors have put together. And it's just like, can you just use the new titler? Like, use Essential Graphics, just type it on the actual timeline, and they still struggle with that. But I'm like, just type it onto the timeline. Everyone's going to be having a great day if you do that. And it
amazes me. It really does that people refer back to the old, titler.
Yeah.
When the new titler tool is so simple in comparison.
Oh, it's amazing, and you can do some amazing things with it. You can not only apply the effects to that and then put adjustment layers over the top if you need to, and tie everything together. It's ridiculous. But again, that's one of those things that, because as soon as it came in, you and I, Al and John all started using it immediately. And I was just like, yep, I'm on board. But a lot of people still like, oh, but I thought the old titler was better, and it gives me drop shadow, and I've got these options to make the outside lines look different colors. Yeah, okay. You can do that in the new one too. Markers are also the same. They're amazing tools. You just need to get used to them. And again, come up with your own workflow. Nobody's saying this is the right way or the wrong way. Change the colors and do whatever you want. But there are many, many things that make things very easy when you just start to bring them into what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. Paul has just written there, legacy titles is like emailing me notes with time codes.
100%. It's like, what, we weren't using Vimeo review notes or Frame.io or whatever's out there that are amazing tools to get that done. It's like, why would you do that when it's easier this way? Because it's just one way of thinking. And again, people get locked into it. They're like, oh, well, that's the way I learned how to do titles. Yeah, okay, but your phone updates its software how often? I mean, that's the thing. People don't get that. It's like, I'm upgrading. It's asking me to upgrade the game that I play, and I play Gardenscapes. That's how really terribly pathetic I am. But it's a great game. It's very addictive, and I like making gardens. But that game updates every other day. Every time I open the bloody thing, it's like, oh, you need to update this. It needs to update now. And I'm just like, that's exactly the way these programs work. So once we get ahead of that game, as editors, I think we can start contributing, and we'll have a global panel where we can all pour our feedback into, and hopefully it will happen. And the global hive mind and the new order will take over.
You mentioned there, Jimmy. Frame.io has a beautiful integration with Premiere, where video notes in the review page can actually be imported directly into Premiere as markers through the extension.
So I've never used Frame.io. A lot of people have told me about it. I want to. I actually want to look into it because I've been using Vimeo forever, just because I just kept pumping stuff into it, and it got to the point where it's like, I just need to keep using that. But they had an integration originally on the table, and then it never happened. And so then I was like, well, I need something that's going to pump them onto that. I would love it if that pumped those feedback notes onto the timeline, because God, it would make my life so much simpler. Yeah. So you reckon it's a good deal?
It's pretty. Pricing
it's not
wise,
cheap.
No, it gets up there. But especially when you start having collaborators,
right?
So it gets a bit tricky to manage. But
it works good. I don't.
Great.
I mean, if the price is right and the clients are right, if it
David
works
Houston's saying he uses it all the time. Yeah, I know a lot of people that use it and they swear by it.
Yeah, right. Well, I was talking to a producer today, and he was like, I can't remember which platform are you on, Frame.io or Vimeo, or how do we communicate? It's been like 7 months, because since the lockdown, I haven't even talked to the guy. Yeah. And I said, no, we use Vimeo. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. But I'm like, Frame.io, I really want to check it out, but I just never got there.
They've got a 30-day trial, I think, so give it a go.
Oh, I'll give it a go. Yeah, for sure.
Have a crack.
We got any follow-ups? So we're going to have to wrap this up soon, aren't we?
Yeah, me too. I've actually got something else I got to go and be doing, believe it or not.
Are you flying to Vegas again?
No, unfortunately, no. Do you know what I usually am doing at this time of year, though? I am usually in Amsterdam for the IBC show.
IBC, I was about to say, IBC's gone virtual this year.
That's right. So I've been doing meetings all week and next week around IBC. So that's been interesting. I'm up very early in the morning.
You're going to have to be talking. But I'm going to say thank you, everybody. I'll do the wrap-up. I'll say thank you, everybody, for joining us on this Marcus chat, and I hope that you've got something out of it. And thank you so much, Al, for sharing your insights into the amazing things that you do with markers, because I know that people are not using them, and I really wish they would, because it is such an amazing thing to put into your workflow, because I rely on it. So for me, it's like the second nature. But and then hopefully we're going to have some questions for next week's episode, which John's going to tell us about now.
Next week's episode is actually going to be about producers that become editors, and the title they get is Predators. It's a real thing. It's been around in broadcast for a long time, and we will have Christy Fuller from 1440 Productions coming and speaking as our guest speaker next week. And we also know what we're doing the week after, but I'll let you wait another week before you get to hear what that one's all about. But again, thanks. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Al.
Throw questions into the chat if you want stuff. We're happy to re-review everything and make sure that we've got some questions if you have them for next week as well. So please do that.
And hit us up on the Twitter account if you really want to sort of add your own little bits that you want us to talk about. We're very open to suggestions for next sets of episodes.
For sure.
Righto. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Cheers, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.